hip-hop artist. I'm a podcaster. I'm an executive producer of that podcast. I'm a writer, even though I don't write much. Graphic designer. You know, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. But when it comes to hip-hop, I'm serious about my shit. Can I curse? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Say whatever you want.
Lydia girl! We'll start there.
So how long have you been involved in podcasting?
3 years.
Okay.
So I've been podcasting since 2015, September 2015. Me, Syer, started a podcast. He just, one day in the gym, he was like, yo, Jay, we should do a podcast. And I had no idea what a podcast was. I'm like, what is that? And he's like, yo, it's like internet radio, but not internet radio. It didn't attract me at all. Like, I didn't want to do it. But I'm like, yo, give me an example of a podcast. I'll listen to it and I'll let you know what I think. So he gave me a podcast. I think the first 2 podcasts he put me on to was the Combat Jack Show. Rest in peace, Combat Jack. That was the first podcast I ever listened to. And then Ignorant Philosophy. Now, I listened to both of those podcasts. I enjoyed them. And I said, this does sound like some shit that I can get into. So, ever since then, man, we already make music. I already had the studio. You know, we had to tweak a lot. A lot of changes had to be made. A lot of different equipment had to be bought. But I figured, not knowing, I'm like, we could just use the condenser mics that we already use. Like, so, set up the mics, sat down, started talking shit. That was episode 1. And we have put an episode out every week since then. So, this past September was our 3-year anniversary. Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
That was really awesome. What made you, when you started the podcast, did you know that it was something you wanted to do long term?
Nah, I didn't know how long we was gonna do it. Mm-hmm. So when we first did it, the thought process behind it was, how can we push our music better? Mm-hmm. How can we push our music in a different way? Mm-hmm. So we've been rapping a lot longer than we've been podcasting. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it comes a point in your career where you got to figure out what's working and what's not working.
Right.
So what we decided to do was start the podcast as a way to sort of feed our music to a different demographic of listeners without force feeding it.
Right.
It's a lot easier to invite somebody to listen to a conversation that you're having about Drake versus Meek, rather than a mixtape. You know?
Right.
You go to somebody and you say, yo, listen to my song, they're going to be like, get out of here, I don't want to hear that shit.
Yeah,
right.
It's a softer approach.
I don't want to hear that shit. But if you go to somebody and say, yo, how you feel about Nicki and Cardi right now? They're going to have an opinion. They're going to have an opinion. And they're going to want to share their opinion. If you say, yo, I got a podcast talking about Nicki and Cardi, they're going to want to hear your opinion. They're going to want to listen to it. And so what we do is at the end of the show, beginning, end of the show, we play some of our music. Real light, just an outro song, intro song. And people always ask, like, it used to be, they're coming to hear the podcast. They're not coming to hear the music. But while they're there, they'll say, yo, what was that song? You know what I mean? And that's how we could then say, yo, we also make music. You know what I mean? So, we didn't know how long we was going to do it. We thought, yo, we're going to just do this real quick and people going to fuck with the music and that's going to catapult us. We didn't know we was going to fall in love with it like we did. And so that's how we end up making this shit like a real part of what we do now. Like now podcasting is kind of at the forefront and music is still right behind it, but it's because of the podcast that people are fucking with the music even more now. we've gained many extra fans of our music just based off of the podcast, because they listen to it and they get to know us, you know, listening to the podcast. Like, they get to know personal Jay, personal Syer, you know, and that makes them even more inclined to fuck with the music, because you gonna give somebody a chance that you know, that you fuck with, you know, somebody that you might have went to school with, somebody that you might have, you know, a relationship, whether it be just an acquaintance, but if you know them, you might be curious enough to listen. If you don't know them, it's like, I'm scrolling right past your shit, bro. Like, you post a video, you post a song, yo, listen to my shit. They scrolling right past your shit. Like, so the podcast was a way to invite people into our lives and then allow them to be more curious and open to listening to the music.
Cool. So where do you see, like, where do you want to branch this off to? Like, where, from now point on, like, where do you see yourself in like a year or two? Do you see yourself being bigger than where you are now? Do you want to make yourself bigger than what you are now?
Just a year from now? I mean, every year we try to be, you know, every day we try to be better than we were, you know, week in, week out, let's say, because we're a weekly podcast. So week in, week out, we try to do better than we did the week before. A year from now, you know, I see us, myself personally, I see, you know, I see more music. I see us doing another live event of some sort. I don't know if it's going to be a live show. I don't know if it's going to be, you know, just a kickback or whatever. But I see a lot of progression. I don't know if I see bags and dollar signs, but I see the foundation of that. So I think where we at now, we've established ourselves enough to build the fan base that we need, build the relationships that we need, that are conducive to us getting to a point where we could prove ourselves to, you know, advertisers and big businesses to give us money to promote this shit. Mm-hmm. So a year from now, where I want to be is, I want to have interviewed another 12, you know, I guess people of some sort of importance or substance or artistry, similar to what y'all doing. We like to do like an interview a month. I want to have at least one real sponsor. So one sponsor who's paying us money to advertise their shit, right? And I want to do at least one more live event, touch the people, get in front of people, and you know, just kind of build off of that, because I think that's important too, you know.
Mm-hmm. And how do you, per se, I mean, obviously you have more than just yourself on the team. How do you pick who you want to interview?
Well,
like, what goes into that process?
That's like a group decision. So we'll each have like a wish list of people that we want to interview. So I have my personal wish list. Syer has his personal wish list, and Cherry has hers as well. Cherry's not so much into the interviewing, so she doesn't really care whether or not, like, she has her specific people. Beyond that, it's more like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. Like, whoever y'all want to interview, just tell me about them. You know, they just got to be interesting. They got to be interesting. They got to be, they got to have some sort of depth to them. They got to do something, you know, that they don't have to be famous. They don't have to be rich, you know. But if they, it helps if they, you know, do have some sort of popularity or ability to bring their following to us, because we like it to be mutually beneficial, right? So we don't want to just interview people because they want to be interviewed, right? So as far as the decision making, we weigh all those things out. Like, I'll come and I'll be like, listen, I want to interview Corey Guns. You know what I mean? That's part of my wish list. So Syer might come back and say, yo, that's dope. We should look into that. Cherry might come back and be like, I don't know who Corey Guns is, right? Whatever. You know, like, I hope to God that's a lie, Cherry, but you know, you never know, right? She might say, I don't know who Corey Guns is, right? So then we explain, like, oh, Corey Guns, Smack DVD, 14, Peter Gunn's son, blah, 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 BX, you know? And from there, we start pursuing, you know what I mean? That's a whole nother like grind, but just as far as the decision making, we want to know that, you know, are they interested, or do they have a story? What's their story like? Do we care? Do we care enough? You know? And that's kind of how we go about that. It's, you know, it's kind of clean cut. Like, it's not crazy. It's like, yo, I want to interview Beyonce. All right, well, shit. Well, good bless. You know, good luck. Or you could say, yo, I want to interview Wayno. You know what I mean? Right now he's doing Everyday Struggle. He's killing the game. He went from, you know, being Dave East's manager to now being Wayno. He has his own name. Like, he's now, he has his own show. Like, we wanted to interview Wayno before he was Wayno. But see, that's the thing. And then you start pursuing. Like, yo, let's find out what kind of events we need to pop up at to run into somebody that know Wayno, or run into Wayno himself, and introduce ourselves, be cool. You know, I'm not gonna get into how we, you know what I mean, how the grind goes with that. I don't want to give too many gems out, but you know, there's a specific way that we court people to want them to be on the show. We've had some dope people on the show, and we, you know, it's just energy. We just try to put out the energy that you know, calls for, you know, that energy to come back. So, you know.
And speaking of energy, I'm just super curious of how do you balance putting your energy into that as well as balancing your regular work, home lifestyle with the amount of energy you put into, you know, finding people, figuring out, you know, what your next plan is going to be for that week.
You talking about like my 9 to 5?
Yeah. Because I want to add, because that's a big issue that I see. People who want to start something, they always think, oh, I still work a 9 to 5, and or I have a family, I have things, I have responsibilities, and how do you deal with that?
It's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. I'm dealing with it. I'm still dealing with it. Like, it's really hard. I haven't done a lot of things that I wanted to do, or that I want to do, because I don't have the time for it. You know, and in most cases, if I want to do something, I have to make the time. So people that say they don't have time, they don't have time because they didn't make the time, right? So they're prioritizing something else in place of whatever it is that they wanted to do, right? And I have to be honest with myself when I say that I do prioritize certain things over music, over the podcast, over graphic design. And it may not be many things, but it might be, you know, quality time with my daughter, quality time with my wife, sleep, enough sleep to be able to not be a zombie at work and fucking get fired because I'm not performing the way I need to at work. You know, all of those things are real factors that I deal with. You know, I'm sensitive about sleep, even though I may not get as much sleep as I want to. I'm sensitive about sleep because there's a lot of people, oh yeah, sleep is a cousin of death. Yeah, I'd like to stay up as long as I can so I can get done what I need to get done. That's cool. If you have a focus and you have a goal and a purpose for being up at that time, do what you got to do. You know, I know I have a deadline. I know I have, as a graphic designer, I'm up late working on flyers, working on mixtape covers. whatever it is, right? But it's because I know I have a deadline. I know I got to get this done. I'm getting paid to do it. But just being up for the sake of being up. If I say, yo, man, I just want to stay up and, hopefully I can write another verse. I don't know what's going to come to me in the time that I'm going to be up trying to think of lyrics. You know what I mean? That right there is a gamble. I'm gambling my sleep in hopes that I'm going to be able to be productive. If you know you're going to be productive, do what you got to do. If you don't know and you just hoping you're going to be productive, to me, what that's going to do is it's going to impact your ability to wake up, be charged up, and do your 9 to 5. Now, if you just working at Dollar General or some shit, no knock on that. But if you really don't give a shit about your 9 to 5, and it's like, well, this shit is just some shit on the side, and it is what it is, then alright, cool. But I got bills to pay. I got mouths to feed. I got a lot of shit I got a lot of people and things that depend on my income. So, like I said, I'm sensitive about the sleep because I want to be able to perform the following day, do what I got to do, and get that money. Because that is what funds the dream. That is what funds all this equipment. It's what funds the ability, to buy a MacBook and buy Photoshop and Illustrator and Adobe Audition or whatever it is that you use, all the cameras, all the equipment. You're not getting, unless you trapping, unless you're a drug dealer, unless you selling coke. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not, this shit is not coming from,
right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not coming from nothing.
I hear you.
So, I'm big on take care of what you gotta take care of at home. Because, when all the lights cut off, when all this shit go away, when y'all leave, when I turn these lights off, when I turn these mics off, I gotta sleep with my wife. I gotta sleep knowing that my daughter is taken care of. I gotta sleep knowing that my wife is taken care of. I gotta sleep knowing that I'm taken care of. There's a roof over everybody's house. There's a roof over everybody's head. And, I think that's important. I think people sometimes they lose focus of that. But back to how I deal with it, honestly, it's just rough. I find whatever time that I need, just like we doing right now, right? No matter what it is that you're doing, you could be doing something else. I could not be doing this and I could be downstairs playing video games. Or I could be in the gym. Or I could be cooking, editing the podcast, doing graphics, writing a rhyme, recording a rhyme, whatever it is, right? You have to manage your time as best you can to fit your needs as an artist. So if your goal is to be the best rapper in the universe, you got to prioritize the time to put the work in to be the best rapper in the universe. If your goal is to be the best podcaster in the universe, you got to put the time in to be the best podcaster. If your goal is to make millions off of video game competitions, then fucking get in the basement and play that video game all day. There's money in, and no matter what you do, you can get paid to do it. You know what I'm saying? So what my focus is because I do so many different things, how can I split the time as best I can and know my schedule and know what I'm doing throughout my day. I know I'm up at 5 in the morning. I know I'm going to the gym, and then I know from the gym I'm working for anywhere from 8 to 10 hours. After that, I'm coming home, I'm being a dad, and I'm being a husband for a couple hours. And then after that, I have my time to either work on graphics, work on a podcast. I have a strict schedule. Tuesday we record the podcast. Wednesday I edit the podcast a little bit. By Thursday, I have to have it fully edited to be up by Friday. In between that time, I'm whatever else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whatever else I can fit in. If I have clients, I have clients for the graphics. If I don't have clients, all right, cool. I could watch a couple more Netflix originals with my wife and do whatever kind of extra weekend. Weekend is just weekend time. Just all depends. Like I'm big on keeping my calendar updated. Like, my iPhone calendar, the older I've gotten, the more I realize I need the calendar. I'm mad forgetful. So,
Amen to that.
I'm mad forgetful. So I put everything in the calendar. This shit was in the calendar. I put in there, interview with Courtney, 8:30. You know what I mean? And it's in there. Mm-hmm. So I just keep a tight enough schedule to where even if I breach that schedule, it's organized enough to where I know what I'm doing. You know. Mm-hmm. But it's hard. This shit is not easy at all. Shit is not easy. A lot of this, you know, some other things I won't say. Just, you know,
keeps you moving.
It just keeps me moving, man. It's not easy though. It's not easy, but I will say, working for myself is my number one goal.
Why?
Working for myself is my number one goal because all of the time that I put in to my job is for me. So I'm working. I just told you I'm up at 5 a.m. I go to the gym. That's my self-care time, right? Go to the gym. Then I'm working 8 to 10 hours a day for someone else. So yes, I'm getting money, but I'm getting a microcosm, like nothing compared to what the business is making a year, right?
Right.
If I put that same amount of time and effort, like I said, you got to be supercharged, you got to be up and ready to go to be able to perform. If I put that same effort into performing for myself, I'd be where I want it. By now, I'd be where I want it to be. So I say that confidently because I bust my ass at work. Because I'm not trying to get fired, because I feel like there's something on the line. When you feel like there's something on the line, you put extra work in. If I was able to put that extra work in for me, it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. So working for myself is definitely my number one goal. I don't think I want to work for anybody. After the job that I have now, God forbid something was to happen, I don't think I would ever want to work for anybody else. I don't know, God forbid, but...
Right. So, wishful thinking, well, not even wishful thinking, when the time comes, when you have the time to exert that 8-10 hours that you are working for the middleman, what would you fill your time in with?
More music. So number one would be more music, right?
Number one.
And when I say music, it's not only